Countless times throughout history, America has defended nations against oppressive attacks. The brave men and women sitting in this room today understand what it takes to defend freedom and democracy, a commitment that was again called upon from afar nearly a quarter century ago. After Iraqi forces invaded Kuwait in 1990, over 500,000 of America's finest soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and Coast Guardsmen bravely fought to expel one of the largest military forces in the world, and in doing so liberated a nation from extreme violence, occupation, and tyranny. Once the dust settled, over 300 brave men and 15 women had served and died as a result of their commitment to freedom and democracy. Sadly, as we near the 25th anniversary of the Desert Storm conflict, no national memorial stands in honor of the servicemen and women who served and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Last year, during the 115th VFW National Convention, VFW members spoke loud and clear in support of changing that. Passing the Operation Desert Shield Storm Memorial Resolution allowed the VFW to endorse and voice our strong support for the nation's Desert Storm Veterans War Memorial and the mission to build a lasting tribute to the bravery, achievement, commitment, and sacrifice of all Desert Storm veterans. A major facet of our mission is an organization to ensure those who have gone before us in war are remembered and honored properly. This memorial will do just that and much more. Here today to talk more about the memorial is VFW Life member Scott Stump, CEO and President of the National Desert Storm Veterans War Memorial Board of Directors. Scott Stump. Good to see you again, Scott.
Great to see you.
Good to be here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to help you go back in time 25 years, so if you bear with me, I have a short video that I'd like to, I think, bring your memories back to. If you would please direct your attention to the video screens.
In the early morning hours of August 2nd, following negotiations and promises by Iraq's dictator, Saddam Hussein, not to use force, a powerful Iraqi army invaded its trusting and much weaker neighbor, Kuwait. Within 3 days, 120,000 Iraqi troops with 850 tanks had poured into Kuwait and moved south to threaten Saudi Arabia. At my direction, elements of the 82nd Airborne Division, as well as key units of the United States Air Force, are arriving today to take up defensive positions in Saudi Arabia. No one, friend or foe, should doubt our desire for peace, and no one should underestimate our determination to confront aggression. Our objectives in the Persian Gulf are clear, our goals defined and familiar. Iraq must withdraw from Kuwait completely, immediately, and without condition. These goals are not ours alone. They've been endorsed by the United Nations Security Council 5 times in as many weeks. Most countries share our concern for principle, and many have a stake in the stability of the Persian Gulf. This is not, as Saddam Hussein would have it, the United States against Iraq. It is Iraq against the world.
Soldiers of the 18th Airborne Corps, our Commander-in-Chief.
Over the past 4 months, you have launched what history will judge as one of the most important deployments of Allied military power since 1945. And I've come here today to personally thank you The world is watching. I've spoken with the Secretary of State, Jim Baker, who reported to me on his nearly 7 hours of conversation with the Iraqi Foreign Minister, Tariq Aziz. Secretary Baker made it clear that he discerned no evidence whatsoever that Iraq was willing to comply with the international community's demand to withdraw from Kuwait and comply with the United Nations resolutions. Let me emphasize that I have not given up on a peaceful outcome. It's not too late. The choice of peace or war is really Saddam Hussein's to make. Just 2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait. These attacks continue as I speak. Ground forces are not engaged. I have therefore directed General Norman Schwarzkopf, in conjunction with coalition forces, to use all forces available, including ground forces, to eject the Iraqi army from Kuwait. The liberation of Kuwait has now entered a final phase. I have complete confidence in the ability of the coalition forces swiftly and decisively to accomplish their mission. Kuwait is liberated. Iraq's army is defeated. Our military objectives are met. Kuwait is once more in the hands of Kuwaitis in control of their own destiny. We share in their joy, a joy tempered only by our compassion for their ordeal. We went halfway around the world to do what is moral and just and right. We fought hard, and with others, we won the war. We lifted the yoke of aggression and tyranny from a small country that many Americans had never even heard of. And we ask nothing in return. We're coming home now, proud, confident, heads high. There is much that we must do, at home and abroad, and we will do it. We are Americans. May God bless this great nation, the United States of America. Thank you all very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope it took you back. But more importantly, I hope it made you remember just how significant Operation Desert Storm was and how it could have very easily gone the other way. We're very fortunate with the way that it did turn out. I also want to point out that I think that the video did an excellent job of dispelling some of the myths and some of the media manufactured linkage between Operation Desert Storm along with Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. They tend to lump those conflicts together when it's very obvious that they had separate and distinct missions. Ours was all about liberating Kuwait. OIF and OEF was all about the war on terror. So I hope that that illustrated that for you. Now, as far as our focus, as Chief Stroud had mentioned, our driving daily focus is on remembering these 300 folks that didn't come back. Everything revolves around that. However, there are some other issues about Desert Storm that sometimes people forget. Operation Desert Storm was a very important and significant turning point in our country's history. And Jimmy had mentioned here earlier, our country went through a very rough time in Vietnam, and many of our Vietnam veterans were not treated the way that they should have. It was very appalling, and our country finally realized that that could never happen again. And I believe without a shadow of a doubt that our men and women who are in uniform now and who have been serving in the war on terror, I don't believe that they would be treated with that level of dignity and respect if it were not for those lessons learned in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. I'll also draw one other link with Vietnam because there are many. A lot of people will say, Scott, you know, Desert Storm happened so quickly and it was so successful because the Iraqis were so bad. And as a Marine Corps infantry officer, I can tell you, I don't believe that. I don't believe that they were that bad. I believe we were that good. And you know why we were that good? Because all of our leaders were Vietnam veterans. And those Vietnam veterans were not going to allow what happened the first time around to happen to us. And I want to personally, I give them all the credit for my being able to stand before you today. It was a big deal. So where are we with the memorial? Well, as Chief had mentioned, we had just completed a brutal over 3-year legislative battle. I'm sorry, it's a process. I always get in trouble when I say it's a battle. But and it culminated with the passage of our bill. It was signed into law on December 19th. And what that law authorizes is a construction of the Desert Storm Memorial on federal land in the District of Columbia through 100% private funding. So no veterans programs are impacted with this. There's no taxpayer money involved, whatsoever with this. It's all privately funded. Now, this is where you all come into play. The current estimate that we have for everything involved with the memorial is right at $25 million. And what we have, our goal is to raise that $25 million during the 25th anniversary of Desert Storm, which commences on August 2nd. And I've had some people tell me, Scott, that's a huge financial hurdle. That's a lot of money. And I like to put things in perspective when it comes to that. In 1919, Kansas City, Missouri, the home of the VFW, raised $2.5 million in 10 days for the World War I Memorial. That's $34 million and some change in today's money. I believe the money is out there. We just need to find it and get wired in. Another way to look at this, too, is there are some presidential campaigns that are underway at this point. And it's funny how people don't bat an eye when you have people talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Mr. Bush has raised already $115 million. He averages $710,000 a day in donations. And Mrs. Clinton has raised $45 million since April. And nobody bats an eye about that. I had a discussion with a gentleman here recently, and he said, Scott, the problem is that a lot of people in this country, they're more worried about influencing and shaping the future than they are about remembering and honoring the past. And I kindly but forcefully reminded him that if it weren't for veterans of every war and every era of service, there wouldn't be any future to shape. Period. So I would like to personally appeal to you in closing. We need your help. We're at a critical juncture in this project. And we have an immediate seed funding need of $200,000 that we're trying to raise by August 1st. And I'd like to appeal to you all at a department level, at a district level, even at a post level. Maybe you all know some folks in your state or in your district that are successful business people that you could introduce us to. Maybe there are some corporations that are veteran-friendly that we could network with to start the ball rolling here. Maybe your post, maybe your district, maybe your department would be interested in conducting a fundraiser on behalf of this mission. Or possibly you might be willing to write a check to us or to donate through the website at nationaldesertstormwarmemorial.org or ndswm.org. However you all ultimately decide to support this, I want to thank you in advance and humbly thank you for your support. It's going to take a team effort. and we need your help, folks. I want to appeal to you as a fellow VFW member. Help us to do the right thing. The right time is now. This is the right thing to do, and I'm asking you for your help. Thanks so much. Chief Stroud and your staff, I hope that you, thank you for a great year. And I want to wish the incoming officers a great year. I look forward to working with all of you in 2015 and 2016. And fellow VFW members, thank you for your attention. God bless you all. Thank you.